Now that I've taught you pretty much everything I know about filmmaking, I want to take you through the full production process from beginning to end so you can see how I apply everything I just taught you in a real life scenario. So about 4 months ago, I got an email from a local carpet business and they wanted me to produce a TV commercial for them. I asked them how they'd found out about me and they said they just found me through watching my stuff on social media. And they were so in love with the way I was filming and the style and the emotions I could portray through my work that they wanted to bring that to their branding. So they asked me for a quote on how much it would cost to produce a full TV commercial, and because I wanted the opportunity, I said I'd do it for $10,000. They agreed on the price and asked me to start coming up with some concepts or ideas of how to best sell their carpet in a TV commercial. Now, scripting and concepting isn't one of my strengths, but my good friend Dallin Wright is a very talented writer and scripter, so I contacted him and asked if he'd be interested in writing up some concepts and ideas for the commercial and coming on board as a writer and producer for the project. He was up for the challenge and began working on some ideas for the video. To gather inspiration, he began watching other successful commercial campaigns that had been done by similar brands whose style we could replicate for our TV commercial.
The inspiration for this project, actually a lot of my inspiration for anything comes to me in the shower. And so I just kept having this idea of, I knew that I wanted it to be the type of advertisement where it's not in your face. It's that subtle, you're selling more emotion than you're selling actual product. I knew that their demographic was like a 30s family with, you know, a couple of kids or whatever. So after seeing that, I started to picture in my mind what would a family like that do with, you know, or on carpet or surrounding carpet or flooring or whatever it may be. And I just got this idea of giving, how at least in my life, my mother's been very giving and always wants to give. So I figured that a mother who would see this commercial would want to view it as like an opportunity to give back to her family or something that's just nice to give to herself or whatever it may be. So my tagline for the one we're actually shooting today was give them a soft place to land. And then the more I started to say give them a soft place to land, and then another concept, give them a solid place to study, and just go, I just didn't like the idea of give. I didn't like saying it, so I figured we should just chop it down, and all of a sudden it kind of just a soft place to land. And like that a soft place to land, for whatever reason, that phrase to me, like Ogden's flooring design, a soft place to land, took me on this journey of this little kid flying like an airplane, and when his dad comes home and he's just flying around in like an airplane and they're just having fun up in the air, and then he lands them, you know, just brings them down softly on the carpet, which is supposed to be plush and nice enough for you to roll around on. And I just wanted to show that nice family moment come together and then on the carpet and just show what a family does.
Typically, you want to give your client at least 2 or 3 good ideas so they have something to choose from, and Dallin actually wrote up about 10 different ideas. And then he sent those ideas to the client, they absolutely loved them, picked one that they wanted us to focus on for now, and we began the pre-production process. This is where a lot of the producer's work takes place. A producer's job is to oversee the project from concepting all the way to completion. It's the producer's job to line up everything that the director needs so that all he has to do is show up and execute. So the first step for Dallin as a producer was to go out and find talent. Having the right people on camera is crucial to conveying your message. Because the carpet company's target demographic was geared towards young families, Dallin sought out some local popular YouTube vloggers, the Meekum family, and asked them if they'd be interested in being in this commercial. They said they'd love to, so Dallin worked out the rates for which they were willing to work and moved on to the next step. The next step was to find a location. So Dallin visited several different houses in the area that had recently bought carpet from this company and asked them if they'd be willing to let us use their home for a day in exchange for a small compensation. In each home he visited, he would take pictures, send them to me, the director, and together we decided on the home that we felt had the best look and feel to best tell our story.
Not everyone's just willing to let you come into their home and just go to town and film all day and just rearrange stuff and everything, which is, we are very intrusive when we come in here. Alicia gave me a couple leads that I went to go see, and this was one of them, the house we're in right now. She gave me this lead and I met with the wife. She kind of toured me around the home, and the home just made sense. I could see our actors in that home.
Once we had the cast and location locked in, it was now time to hire on a crew to work around me. Now, because I have my team of guys that I usually hire for stuff like this, I as the director took over this role and hired out a lighting technician, a DP/cinematographer, a sound guy, and a behind the scenes guy. Once we had the crew all organized, it was time for Dallin, the producer, to now start working on a schedule, blocking out our day's activities and creating a shot list of everything we hope to accomplish every hour. And because this project was for a TV commercial, the producer made sure to bring some waivers and release forms to make sure we had permission to use people's faces on camera. So all of those duties fall under the umbrella of the producer during the pre-production process. And it's also the producer's job during that whole process to make sure we stay within budget. So as he goes spending things and hiring people on, he's keeping an organized spreadsheet of all of our costs to make sure we don't run out of funds. And during that whole pre-production process, the producer is constantly in communication with the director, running all of those decisions by him, making sure that they're both on the same page.
Are you sure?
I really like him.
No, I mean,
We should do one.
No hard feelings stuff, but
We should just do one close-up of that poster.
yeah, actually,
So when it comes to shooting, like day of, I wear a lot of different hats. Number one, I just have to know what needs to happen when, so I follow my production schedule as much as possible, and I kind of am a task manager, so I help to make sure that things are running smoothly.
that's that on-set goodness when you're just eating craft service and just getting it.
Once on set, it's the producer's job to make sure everything runs smoothly. He's there to make sure the director has everything he needs to carry out his vision and execute the shoot. For example, at one point in the shoot, we decided we wanted to change out the kid's toy car for a toy airplane, but we didn't have any toy airplanes, and so Dallin ran to the nearest Walmart and brought us back a toy airplane. The producer is also in charge of crafts and services, which means making sure everybody is hydrated and fed at all times.
And we're working with children, which is another huge obstacle to get over, to figure out how is the kid going to be happy. He's 2 years old. Can he take direction? If he's not taking direction, what we can do to make him happy.
Keeping the talent happy. Keeping the talent happy. Ready? You want to show him how to do it? Yeah, good job.
If he's not happy, like you got to keep on asking and catering to his needs, because it is make or break depending on whether this kid can perform not only on camera but also in a certain time frame.
Baby, 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 baby. What shot do you think we should get next? Oh, on the ground?
It's very easy to get frustrated or down because some obstacle comes up, whether the talent's not working.
Almost.
Or you forgot something, or food's not coming, whatever. There's going to be problems on set. You just have to be ready to have solutions. Especially working with Parker, I always wait. I mean, I didn't tell him that we didn't have a set literally 3 days before we were about to shoot. Like, I didn't tell anybody that the location was not locked down, because I don't want to tell you something until I have a solution to provide as well. Obviously, I don't step on the toes of Parker, who is the director. He respects other people's opinions. Me personally, I'm just always ready to volunteer my opinion. I have to fight to keep it back most times, just so I don't step on anybody's toes. In this case, because I have been so involved from start to finish, he does ask me, what did you see here? What do you see here? What do you think happens here, kind of thing.
Like kind of a slow fade away to kind of come out of focus.
And we work through it on set, because once you get into the location, you can plan out every single shot, but once you get there, you see something a little bit different. You're just like, ooh, what if we did this? But that's the thing, is we're a smaller production where we just have to do it. You have to wear a ton of hats.
As the director, I can tell when a producer is doing his job well, when all of those things I just talked about are taken care of and I don't have to worry about any of those and can focus solely on executing the shoot. My role as director really starts to kick in once we get on set. Over the years of being able to direct many different projects, I've learned to look for a few different things. Now, because I'm a cinematographer, my focus is usually always first on making sure we get a clean composition. So I'm looking to make sure the framing looks good, that the camera movement looks clean, that the exposure is set correctly, that we're using the best lens choice, that our lighting looks nice. And normally I act as my own cinematographer, my own director of photography. And so while directing, I'm the one actually executing those shots and looking for all those things and making sure they look good. However, on this shoot, we needed a nicer camera, a Red Dragon, and I don't own one. and so I hired on my buddy Jared Cook, who's a very talented DP that I knew I could trust to execute the shots that I saw in my head. So I was gonna rent a Red Dragon for this shoot, and then I knew my buddy Jared owned one, and I'm like, why don't I just rent him?
That's right.
So on this project, I worked a lot with Jared to make sure we were on the same page, he understood my vision, and that he was executing the way that I had seen it in my head.
My name is Jared Cook. I was the DP today, the director of photography, and basically what that is the DP is in charge of the overall look of the show, so they work together with the director. So today I worked together closely with Parker to establish the aesthetic of how everything looks, with the lighting, with the lenses we choose, with the camera movements, all that stuff. So the director and director of photography kind of work that out. The director of photography executes that and then works with the gaffer. And we just put all that together and make sure that we can create the vision that the director has. And so part of the challenge with that is, you know, working with the limitations that we have, whether that's time or things that are breaking, which today a lot of things malfunctioned and broke. Whether it was a power cable to the camera that I tripped on and it just severed it. And you know, we were down for almost an hour trying to get that figured out. I have never had this problem before, and I have 4 of these gimbal batteries, but they stopped charging.
I'll be done at like 10.
So Jared's cord got severed, so what he's done is he's put the big brick on the back here, which isn't ideal, makes it heavier, makes it a little bit less convenient to carry around, but we're making it work, right, Jared?
I think it's working. It might jiggle a little bit, but I think I got it balanced enough. And we almost got through the day with what juice we had in those batteries, but we, you know, just had to work around it and then switch to the glide cam in order to make up for that. So things like that happen, and it's unfortunate. Today was an unlucky day as far as equipment goes, but you know, you work around it, and that's kind of the fun of filmmaking, is solving problems.
Now get up.
Okay, go get grandma.
Here, let's try that one more time. I love working with Parker. I've had a few experiences working on some Team Supertramp videos with him. We went to the Holy Land together.
We worked together on a few Devon Supertramp shoots, and so I trust him. So if he screws it up, it's his fault.
No pressure. Shot a bunch of stuff. I do a lot of time-lapse work, and so I've worked with Parker several times, and he's great to work with because he's collaborative. He has a vision that he brings to the table, but he wants input from those around him.
So you start up, and then you end up at the floor. Oh, like yeah, he's landing, you know?
And that's such a strength creatively, because so often we think that a director has to know everything, you know, from start to finish, but a good director utilizes those people around him that have skills. They know how to implement those people and their skills and their, you know, ideas into the work to make it that much better.
That's nice, huh?
The number one thing you can do when aspiring as a filmmaker is to practice. At the end of the day, you can read all the textbooks you want, watch all the movies you want, but the only way you'll get better is to practice and to make mistakes, and that's the only way that you'll step up your craft and your eye and your sensibilities and your composition, everything. So just get out there and do it, whether you have an iPhone or whatever kind of cameras are at your disposal, just use that and tell stories.
Once I feel we've executed a clean composition, next I look to make sure we have a clean acting performance. It's not only important for the shot to look good, but we have to make sure the people on camera look good as well. So on this project, we were looking to make sure our actors were conveying the right emotions, that their movements didn't look too awkward or unnatural. And particularly for this project, we had to work with a 2-year-old who doesn't exactly do what you tell him to do most of the time. And on a lot of the takes, he's crying or saying things we don't want him to say. And so we had to do a lot of retakes based on this aspect, that we weren't getting a clean acting performance. Once we did get a clean acting performance and the composition looked good, then I would turn to Brendan and I would make sure that he got good clean audio of the take. So that's the third thing I look for as the director, is making sure we have good clean audio. That's why the director or sound guy will usually yell quiet on set.
Quiet on set. Quiet please.
So that everybody knows to be quiet, we're about to roll, and we don't want to get a clean performance without clean sound. So it's important as the director to make sure everybody understands when you're shooting so that people aren't talking in the background.
I'm Brendan, by the way, and I do audio, and I'm a music producer and sound engineer.
prop again. And
On set today, I am operating boom to grab sounds because in post we're going to do a lot of sound design and Foley work, and so I figured we'd capture as much as we can here on set, so then that way, you know, when we get into post we don't have to like recreate the entire world. I've learned that with everything. I feel like every aspect, if you get what you need in the beginning, post is a million times easier, and it's more just touching up rather than like starting from scratch. So this is a film rig, a camcorder rig called the Cowboy Studio. This guy right here. And so I saw my friends using it to shoot, and I thought, how great would it be to stick the zoom on there, because, so this is the Zoom H6. So I thought it would be amazing if I'm holding boom and I can see my levels like in the same sight, you know? So if I'm holding it like this, I can look at my source and look back at audio. A lot of times when we're not rolling, if I can get the set to be quiet, I like to go around and capture different things that I know, like planning out for the future, whether I'm doing sound design or, you know, like what I would want to work with in post. So it's like, hey, we need to grab someone walking around, you know, like on this carpet or on this hardwood, or, you know, this door. Or, for example, like today there was a coat being thrown, and so my main focus of audio was not the coat, so after I grabbed a couple sound bites of the coat being thrown, so that way, you know, we can just insert that in. That was a good one. Let's use it. A lot of times I like to follow the director and DP around as the director and DP are talking about the shots, and just sit there and listen, so I can get an idea of where he's going to be moving, and, you know, how the shot's going to look, and where the talent's going to be, and where the lights are, because when I first started I didn't know that, and so I would just show up and they're like, you're in the shot, you're in the shadow, you're creating a shadow, get out of the way.
Ready and action.
I feel like a lot of guys just like kind of just show up and do their thing, but if you're paying attention to what everyone else is doing, then you can work more as like a gear to the set rather than like, you know, something that gets stuck in the gears. Welcome back to Willem and Brenda's cooking show.
This week
We have fruit snacks and Zippy Fizzy.
these are not your regular fruit snacks. These ones have smiles.
Smiles!
We've got grape flavors.
yeah, it was one shot.
We have a banana.
So a lot of times people like misunderestimate the power of audio, but it honestly goes hand in hand with the visual, you know, and sometimes it could be a lot more powerful than the visual, and sometimes the visual is more powerful than the audio. So if you don't know much about sound, my suggestion would be to learn it and learn why it's important. Understanding why it plays such a crucial role in an entire film will help you understand, like, hey, it's important that we make sure that we get these shots that work for sound, or, you know, get sound B-roll or whatever it is. If I was in charge completely, how would I do a carpet commercial? Static shots on just floors, and it's like, yeah. Like it's just dead silent and a guy just talking about the floors. And then at the very end it's like, Ogden's carpet, or whatever. Yeah, he's just like, you're...
Once you have clean audio, clean acting performance, and a clean composition, then I check for continuity. Continuity means that every scene fits together stacked up next to each other. For example, you can't have the dad wearing a jacket in one scene and then jump to the next scene without him wearing his jacket. There has to be a clip in between that showing him take off the jacket so that we have continuity. And every time I felt that we were safe on those four aspects, I would immediately take the card out of the camera, dump it onto my computer, bring it into my project, and edit it together to make sure it fit well with the previous clips. That way I could know right away if there was any continuity issues and if we had to change anything to make it piece together more smoothly. Now, I don't always edit on set, but for a shoot like this where we were only executing 5 or 6 different shots, it was important to make sure those 5 or 6 shots fit together really well. So I made sure to take the time to piece them all together right after I shot them, and made sure that they fit within the allotted 30 seconds for the TV commercial. That was one of the big challenges with this project, was telling a story within 30 seconds. I was constantly shortening shots to make sure that we could get them in a smaller amount of time so that we could fit in more shots to cover the whole story within that 30 seconds.
Oh, that's it right there. That's it. My name's Willem Kampenhout, and I am the gaffer on set today.
Gaffer is an Old English term for big boss, or chief lighting technician. I'm responsible for all the lights and the illumination of the set, of the actors, the characters, the scene.
Max, let's grab the double as well. Because I'm thinking that this guy's just gonna, I mean, it spreads it out a lot, but I'd like to knock it down just a touch more.
Whenever I'm lighting a scene, usually you work out kind of an aesthetic with the director of photography, with the director, on what they want things just to kind of be like. Do you want it really dark and gloomy? Do you want it nice and bright? Do you want it kind of a romantic feel or more sterile?
Little do people know that things don't always look that good when you just put a camera in a natural environment. You can make things look better with additional lighting and stuff, make people look really good.
We have a series of tools between lights or diffusions or negative things to just block light that you can use to really shape it and kind of create a character with the lighting.
We can't do a ton about these windows, but what we can do is facing the opposite side. We'll just mostly be using these guys.
Let us know when you're ready here, because I think we're going to go back and forth.
So the difference between diffused light and hard light, like right now this light that's hitting me on the side of my face is really diffused because we have it bouncing through up onto the ceiling and you know it's just nice and soft. But if we were to adjust it, you can see it now, but how it just creates these harsh shadows. So that's when we talk harsh light. That's what it's doing.
You know, I'll just kind of mush it into wherever we're seeing and brighten up that side of his face.
With today, one of our greatest strengths, but also biggest struggles, is the fact that it's such an open concept house. There's great big windows that, you know, allow a lot of light to come in, but because our sun has been coming in and out behind clouds, you know, we had to silk off the whole windows just to, you know, keep the look even so that it's not super sharp and then, you know, super diffused when the cloud, you know, sun is going behind the clouds and coming out.
My name is Jared Meekum. My son and I are kind of the main parts in the commercial. I'm throwing my kid around. We're having a good time playing. I got this part because I know Dallin. Him and I are really good buddies, and he asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, and I said, heck yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's right, it's a big camera. I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is actually how much work is going behind the scenes that you don't even think about. When you're watching a commercial, you're like, wow, that's seamless, that's flawless, it just works really well. But the amount of time we've been in here, the amount of takes we've done and everything, it just goes to show how much work goes into the commercial, and I like applaud everyone. Everyone's doing such a good job. So my wife and I, we have a YouTube channel called Ellie and Jared. We film our daily lives, just what we're doing that day. It started with talking about infertility, trying to have kids. Then miraculously we got pregnant, started talking about pregnancy. Then we had our first baby, Jackson, and we started talking about family. He's doing pretty good. You having fun, Jackson? So my son and I, we actually work together quite a bit every day with our job, what we do. So it's a lot of fun to have him on here, and it's kind of just like a fluid transition to what we normally do. A little bit more structured, but it's still just a lot of fun. I mean, who wouldn't want to work with their son, right? I think Parker definitely has a really great sense of what he wants, and he's working really well with both of us.
And he's up.
It's cool to see him get down on the floor and play with Jackson and everything, because I'm wrangling him between the shot, or in the shots. Parker's kind of playing with him in between, kind of get him like, okay, let's do this. And he just does a really good job. He has a really good sense of vision, and watching the footage back, it's like, wow, that really, really works. It's really good.
Look, Jackson, look at me.
For inspiration for, you know, YouTubers or filmmakers is just go and do it. Start somewhere, because the sooner you start, the more experience you'll get, the more you can get out there, get your content out there. Don't be afraid to start small, because you have to start somewhere.
Everybody on set has a crucial role in making sure the final product turns out its best. and it's the director's job to make sure everybody else is doing their jobs. Luckily, I work with amazing people who I feel are more talented in their areas of expertise, and that's why I hire them on. I know that I couldn't single-handedly execute these projects nearly as well without the help of other talented people around me. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of what it takes to make a production of that magnitude come together. However, that's only the first half of it. We still have all the post-production, which takes just as long. So keep watching to see the rest of the steps it takes to get to the delivery of the final product to the client. If you guys have any further questions about this part of the production process, please let me know.